I don't subscribe to it's the taking part that matters. It just simply isn't. It's winning. That's why I've got more race wins than anyone by a country mile.
Jason Plato does it! He wins his second title.
Welcome back to Silverstone, where you may have guessed a big name has come to speak to us. The most successful driver in British touring car history. 97 wins, no less. Jason Plato is speaking with Louise.
So, Jason, we've seen you in the paddock a few times since you retired at the end of 2022, but we are going to be seeing a lot more of you in 2026, aren't we? Tell us.
Says who?
Says you. About to. Anyway, tell us your news.
It's really exciting, actually. I'm now a team owner. So, disappointingly for some fans, or not as the case may be, I'm not going to be driving the car. We're going to be running 2 cars next year in the British Touring Car Championship. Can't tell you who, with, or what, but we will be out there. We're very close to 2 enormous sponsors. I think they're over the line. And these are sponsors that have never been involved in motorsport before, but I certainly can't tell you what manufacturer, what chassis, who the drivers are, who the team members are, for commercial reasons. But, the great news is, I'm back, but just on the pit wall now, and in the steward's bus, no doubt.
When are we going to find out more about drivers, about cars?
Not until after Brands Hatch. I would think by the end of October, we'll be in a position to explain a little bit more.
So we're talking big stuff?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you know what my mantra is. If you're going to get wet, you may as well go swimming.
Yeah, this is true.
Do you know what I mean? So, and honestly, this is my proudest moment ever, actually. I've been through some very dark times these last 3 years.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because, as you say, I mean, those of us who know you, or a few of us around the paddock, are aware that you have been through some really tough times. And this has really, you've got your mojo back on a professional level, but on a personal level as well. It's been a significant factor in that, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, ever since karting, all through my racing career, emotion is the enemy. It just is the enemy. You can't have emotion in a racing car. And also you can't have emotion in the paddock. You've just got, it's a job, I'm here to do a job. And I became very good at blocking emotion out and thought I had everything under control. Well, guess what? That really affected me, retiring from motor racing. I lost my identity, but also in the space of 6 weeks from that happening, my TV work stopped for no other reason, but they'd done a different course of action. A lot of my investments went pear-shaped. My fault, because I'm not an investment bloke. I'm a spender, you know what I mean? And also my marriage broke down. And all those 4 things happening was pretty rough, actually. I mean, very dark. And it was Ross Brawn, a great pal of mine, who managed to get me back in the world again by embarking on a new career as keynote speaking. And then one thing led to another, and here we are with a race team. And, mental health amongst all people, but particularly amongst men, actually. We don't speak about that sort of stuff.
How important is that to talk about it?
I think it's vitally important. I started to get better through trusting people. And, I mean, there's not many people in the world you can trust. We all know that's just a fact of life. But it also taught me that you didn't realise who your friends are, your real true friends are. And if you've got that many in your life, you're doing rather well, actually. But speaking to people it was key because you get locked into this terrible spiral dive. I mean, if I said to you, you probably won't believe this, but you might, because you came down to see me, but I didn't leave the house for 6 months. I took the mirrors down, every mirror down the house. I hated myself, didn't know who I was. So yeah, proudest moment. Yeah, I mean, I thought I was locked in the dark side forever. And now I've most definitely got my mojo back. I'm up at 5 a.m. Come on, let's get going. It's brilliant. I've moved back to Oxford, or in the process of moving back to Oxford. I've got another chance, and I'm grasping it with both arms.
Well, listen, we cannot wait to hear more about it. look forward to the rest of the plans being revealed. And I'm slightly nervous, but really looking forward to having you back in the paddock with us full time
It's
next
going
year.
to be great. I'm sure I'm going to lock horns with Alan Gowell. We might clash heads a few times, but it's going to be exciting, that's for sure.
It's good to see you back to being JP.
Thank you.
Now, if you have been affected by any of the subjects discussed or would like to get support with your mental health, please do visit itv.com/Britain Get Talking. Well, breaking news. Can you believe it? 25 years after he took his first British touring car title, he's going to be back on the grid next year. Very different role for Jason Plato. A very open and honest interview as well. But first, let's touch upon the fact that such a big character, such a legend of the sport, is going to be leading a team next season.
Yeah, and that's the really good news out of this story, because Jason is a huge figure in the British Touring Car Championship. He has been for so long, and him coming back in a big way with a team, with a manufacturer, with some good sponsors is only good for the BTCC. He's always going to be good for a soundbite anyway. He knows how a team should be run. He's been with some of the best teams in the paddock. He knows all we drivers think we know what we should be doing to win a championship with a team, and he will make sure he has the best of everything, and he will have a few teams worried because he knows how to get the job done.
Yeah.
So that's the good news out of it.
Exactly. I mean, obviously he is such an incredible driver, but he's also a huge personality and has been in the paddock for so many years. There's going to be a lot of fans very excited to come and watch his team next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I was lucky enough to be teammates with Jason in his final season in British Touring Cars, and I've known him since I was very, very little in this paddock, and I absolutely love the man to bits. And it was so lovely to hear him talking so openly and honestly. And you know, I was one of those people that saw him in that dark time and tried to help him through as best we can and stay in contact with him. And it's so lovely to see him now with that new lease of life. And I think the reason we do pre-records with Jason is because we can't trust him on live TV. So the best job for Jason is to be managing a team where he's somewhere away from the camera most of the time. But yeah, a proper character of this paddock.
He really is. I mean, you know, you've mentioned it there, the openness, the honesty, you know, the rawness of sharing that is quite special, and you know, I'm sure many people can relate to that, Paul, on different levels. You don't necessarily have to be a sports person, but you know, when you leave the sport, how hard is it to then, you know, find your role? You know, what's next? I mean, it must be a huge challenge.
Massive, yeah. I mean, courageous, brave. Like Jade said, you know, there was a lot of us that spoke to Jason in that dark time, and I remember texting him saying, hope you're okay, mate. We have a mutual friend with James Thompson. A lot of people did a lot of things. One person to mention is Matt Neal. Matt Neal did a lot for Jason, and he really got him out of his shell. And it was, you know, I couldn't imagine how difficult it was for him. But when you leave this sport, I remember 2011 it was when I knew that I probably would have my last touring car race, and it was here. And I cried. It was upsetting. It was difficult. And you question yourself, what are you going to do next? But, you know, I think as sports people as well, these two guys here will tell you, you go again. Jason's going again. You do have a dark time, and you have to put all, you know, your power and your positivity into something else. And my saviour's been ITV Sport, to be honest. So you just have to look at what you've got, try something new. This is what Jason's doing. Well,
it's, you know, you're so used to working obviously in such an intense environment, such an intense sport, and then for it to suddenly not be there. I think there's a stat, 46% of retired athletes end up suffering with some form of mental health, and you can so see how that can happen. I mean, Tim, how did you find it when you changed roles within the sport?
I mean, I think that what people don't realise, and this is what I always try and convey, and we started at the start of the programme when we talked about the pressure of the championship mounting, and that as a professional sportsman, you live, sleep, eat and breathe what you're doing 24 hours a day. I always say it's the last thing you think about when you put your head on the pillow. It's the first thing you think about in the morning. You might have a conversation with your family, but your head is in racing. So you're consumed by it. It's that element of competition. So when that is suddenly take away from you. It's not the fame, it's not the glory, it's that intense emotional involvement you have with your sport. And when that's taken away, there's a huge loss in your life. And that's what Jason has gone through. For me, it was very simple. When I stopped touring cars in 2002, ITV just taken on the touring car contract, and they said, "You've always got a lot to say for yourself. Have you ever thought about being a commentator?" So I started doing this. But then I started racing Porsches and had almost a second career doing that. And that was for fun. So it's sort of, I eased out of it, certainly on my own terms, if you like. But I really feel for what Jason said, and that's what makes this comeback even more special.
I mean, the focus, obviously, you know, as a sportsman to be there, but also we get such a great buzz, adrenaline hit from coming race, whether it's, you know, you're in a car or whether, you know, I get that hit from doing live TV. And, you know, it must be very hard suddenly not to have that in your life. So you need to find that replacement.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I can speak from my own experiences that I went, you know, all through my career racing each year, doing 3 years of touring cars, which for me was the highest level of that adrenaline and that pressure, to not racing really at all, and joining you guys on the TV side is brilliant. But I lost my identity a bit. You know, you grow up and you spend all these years saying I'm a racing driver, and now all of a sudden you don't have that. And like you said, with the adrenaline rush, we thrive off of that feeling, and all of a sudden it's gone, and you think, well, where else can I find it? So Jason, as Tim said, sort of eased out of it, whereas Jason sort of went from racing driver to nothing. And he's obviously found it really hard to find that buzz in his life again, but he will get it from this new role, because I know from being a coach and watching from a side, you get a buzz from a driver that you're supporting getting success. So I've no doubt that Jason's going to put 110% into this and get exactly what he needs out of it from as well.
Yeah, do you think other teams are going to be nervous that Jason Plato's back in the paddock?
I just, honestly...
You're nervous.
Can I tell you something? This is what this championship needs.
Oh.
It needs that character back. It needs Jason Plato back in some form. This is the form it's back. I can't wait for him to just be throwing swear words around, calling people horrible things and getting fully involved. It's going to be awesome.
Bring it on. We cannot wait. Welcome back, Jason Plato.